Let me know when my screen is visible to all of you. Yeah, I hope it is coming.
Yes, yes, we can see it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Abhinav, and thank you, Rajendra, for supporting and sharing all these links with all the participant and me as well. So today I have a session on know your data and secure it. So I know you all are developer, the participants, those who are here working on Power Application, Power Automate, Power BI, and doing all those application development for the people to make their life easy. So today I'm very new to this platform, but then I'm working closely in the security services. So I thought, why not to have a session where I can make you all aware about the security aspect of the applications and the data we are using. So today the topic, know your data and secure it. I have few pointers which I will take you all, and I want you all to understand the journey that how we can secure the data which our applications are accessing and making our lives easy. So before deep dive into this topic, little bit of introduction about myself. So I'm working with CloudDat as a business unit head for cloud security and business intelligence, and we are training and consulting company which are helping the organizations to set up their learning path, and also whenever they need any consulting requirement, we are helping them as well to secure their infrastructure when it comes to migration, when it comes to power app development. So we are helping across whatever we talk about cloud, we are into that. And I'm also associated with other technical communities, and I love to share whatever knowledge I have. So this is all about me. So completely into security, but yeah, would like to share the thoughts because I just started exploring that how I can make these applications more secure and can give a better experience to my users. So with that, I wanted to have a discussion first on know your data. So whenever we say that we want to have security, or our cloud should be secure, our applications should be secure, the first of step is to understand that what all data we want to secure. So that is the first step and very crucial step to understand that what is your data, to understand your data, what data is collected, how it is processed, where it is stored, and who is having access. So, if you have these answers, it will be very easy for you to ensure that sensitive information is protected. And also, we need to understand that we have to also keep track that who has access to the data and how it is shared internally and externally. So when we have all these answers, it's easy for us to create certain policies. When we talk that my data should not be accessed outside this geographical location, or it should not be accessed by XYZ application, or it should not be accessed by the user, those who are not part of the security group. So if I have the understanding of the data, then I can plan these policies. Then I can work on such scenarios where I can make sure that whatever unauthorized access is there, I can remove those accesses and I can make sure that my data is secure. So the first step is know your data. The next step, if you want to say that if you have understanding of your data, as we discussed, that we can make our data secure. Now, when we say secure your data, it involves like implementing the strong access controls and authentication methods that ensure that only authorized individuals have access to sensitive information. The applications what you are created, who can delete, who can add it, who can view the specific information. If you have designated roles assigned, the user, those who are authenticated, the users, those who are now authorized, will only have access to this information. When you have data at rest, when you have data in transit, if you have a proper encrypting policies, it will also help you in managing and saying that yes, my data is secure. And also the important part, if you see on this slide, the third point, the regular monitoring and auditing of data access and uses definitely going to help in detecting and preventing the security breaches. You can see the patterns which is happening when it comes to the access. So know your data and then secure your data. So these are the two steps we will be working on towards the entire presentation today. And if I say that what are the data security best practices? So these are the best practices which I've just listed over here. Keep your software and systems up to date with all the latest security patches. We all know that, but still there are many machines which I also see where they are waiting till last date when this is enforced to restart that system for installing the patches. So please don't be like that guy. Always try to work on the patches whenever you get an update, automatic update, patch it then and there only. And also, the important part is the pointers which I'm going to share today. Maybe a few of you are new to those things, or few of you are already working on that. So please make sure that the people, those who are working on data and application, they should be aware, because I see that most of the developers are not using services like Key Vault. They are using the connection string, username and password in the text files. It's very easy to access those text file. Instead of that, if you're keeping such information in Key Vault and making sure that the Key Vault is having a proper access permissions, it's very difficult to reach to that information from the attacker. So we have to train also the persons those who are working in this area. So keeping software up to date, providing training, educating employees on data security, that will going to help in understanding the importance of the data and how it is happening. So we have to have a response plan so we can have an automated way of handling the situations. I will show you that how we can work on the conditional access policies to manage the grant and approval of the access to certain people in the organization based on the roles and based on the access we are giving to them. Maybe that will help you in understanding this. So when I was studying this and I was preparing the slides, so I've seen that most of the reports mentioning that in 2024 data breaches are expected to increase by 10%. It can be more as well, and this is just a prediction, but I'm sure that this is going to be above this. And the average cost of data breach is projected to reach around $4.2 million in 2024. And there are few mentioned about the small businesses as well, that they are expected to continue to the most targeted ones, because they are only concerned about the business they are working on. Most of the time they are not spending, or they are not giving major contribution, or major I can say that the importance to the roles and the security features, the policies, the compliance, so governance part. So that's why the companies, those who are not giving uh, major importance to security part, they are coming under the trap of the attackers. They are basically welcoming the attackers to come and hack their environment, and that can create the problem to the other organizations as well, because if they are able to find out one loophole, that loophole can lead to some major big attacks as well. So that's important to understand, that we have to be very very cautious when we are planning anything. So it's important to stay up to date with recent data security attack statistics, and that help us in managing and planning the disaster recovery, what you are planning, what kind of attacks are happening. You can also make sure that those things are not happening in your environment. So these are the few stats which I've mentioned for 2020, what happened and what can be done. So I'm not going in detail with this slide. Data breaches exposed 360 billion records globally. 95% of cyber attacks are caused by human error. So yes, it's us only, the weakest link in the security. If we are not going to plan the roles properly, if you are not going to plan access properly, the breach will definitely be there. If you are allowing everybody to work in the environment, it will create a problem. If you are giving admin access to all the employees, it will create a problem. So we are the weakest link, and we have to take care of such issues which are coming. So keeping all these pointers in my mind, based on the understanding what I have created this agenda pointers for today's session, where first I will be discussing about the Dataverse, because this is a place where the entire data is coming, and this is a place where all the applications automate, Power BI are connected, integrated, and getting access to the data. how the integration is happening, what are the security aspects which are related to Dataverse. And when I say conditional access policy, when I say security groups, when I want to limit the access to the Dataverse and I want that these users should only be getting access, how I'm going to do that, that also I'll try to demonstrate. Role based security, how it is important and what kind of benefit we will be getting. What are column level and row level security, that also little bit we will try to explore. And then we will be majorly focusing on the DLP, that is data loss prevention policies, why it is important and how we can create these policies. So that's what the agenda I have planned for today. I'll be very happy to have your take your feedbacks, because that will help me in improving my upcoming sessions on security when it comes and related to Power Platform. So let's start with the topic for today. I hope that I've set the context and you all are excited to learn all these topics with me. So the first slide which I have, which give you a more understanding about this topic and how critical this topic is all about. This is the security layer. If you see, yeah, here I have taken this slide from a global bootcamp from Bulgaria only. So from the one presenter, I've taken this slide, and this is the old slide. So that's why it is showing a Azure Active Directory. It should be Intra ID now. So you see that these are the security layers, and at the center, or you can say at the bottom, we have a Microsoft Dataverse Security. Above that, we have connector access and data loss policies. So we will try to understand that one by one, like tenant access and isolation, environment access and strategy, who have access to environment and how we can plan it, what are the resource permissions we need to work on, the connector access, how we can have the business groups, non-business groups, and how we can configure those, that we will try to understand, and then the data loss prevention policies. And also we have Microsoft Dataverse Security. We will try to touch upon all the layers, but majorly we will be working on the role-based security and Dataverse and also the DLPs. So first, let's start with understanding of the Microsoft Dataverse. So you all are into application development, you all have understanding of that. But those who are new, I'm just wanted to give a recap to Dataverse, that as per the understanding, Dataverse is a secure way which is helping us in storing and managing the data for all the business applications. And this data is stored in the tables where we have columns and rows. And again, columns are storing the specific type of data. And Dataverse include the standard tables. It also allow the custom tables, and all this can be populated with the Power Query as well. And we can use Power Apps to build the applications using this data. And also, if you see in this diagram, so I have given the entire stack: Power BI, Power Applications, Power Automate. So we have data connectors, AI Builder, and Dataverse. So in this step, if you see that Dataverse includes all these pointers which I have discussed, stored in the set of tables. We have columns which are very, very specific. Like in tables, we can have the certain type of data like name, age, salary, and so on. And also Dataverse includes standard tables, which are the typical scenarios we have, and we can have custom tables. So custom tables, we need it again specific to the organization when we want to populate the data. So this is about the Dataverse, that we are using Dataverse to manage and store data in a secure way. And why we use Dataverse? Because it's easy to manage and it's secure. So Dataverse is providing a cloud-based storage option for the data and easy management and managing the security as well. And also the important part is it allow access to Dynamics 365 data, and also has a rich metadata and validation. And also we have data types and relationships which we can use in the Power Apps. Also we can have columns, business rules, workflows, and that also ensures the data quality. And also we can have productivity tools like tables available within the add-ins for Microsoft Excel. So all those parts will give us the power to use the Dataverse and give us the reason to use the Dataverse. So when we say easy to manage, so both the metadata and data are stored in the cloud, and we are not worrying about the details that how metadata and data are stored. And it's easy to secure as well, because data is securely stored so that users can only see it, the data which we are granting to the user, then only they will be able to see it. So role based security is used, and that allows the users to control access to the tables for the various users we have. So admins can control that who all users will be accessing the data, and again it depends on the roles which you are giving to the users. And again, as we discussed, that accessing to the Dynamics 365 data, because you can quickly build your applications using your Dynamics 365 data, you can extend your applications as well. So these are the things because of which Dataverse is used. So when we say Dynamics 365 and Dataverse, so Dynamics 365 applications uses Dataverse to store and secure the data. And also if we see that it enables the building applications with Power Applications and Dataverse directly against the core business data without the need of integration. So we can build applications against the Dynamics 365 data. We can manage the reusable business logic and rules, and also we can reuse the skills across the Dynamics 365 and the Power Applications. So before integrating data into the Dataverse, let me show you. I hope now my screen is visible to all of you, because I've shared the browser with all of you where I have this Power Platform Admin Center. Rajendra, if you can just confirm it, or in the chat, if
Yes, you're
anyone
able
can
to see.
confirm.
You're able
Yeah,
to see.
okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. So here we are going to play with this admin center where we have environment. So I have this demo environment that is Contoso. So I will show you certain features with this Contoso environment. Also, I want you to work with me on the policies we have, data policies. So we will be working, creating the data policies to see that how we can create the business groups, how we can see that what all connectors configurations we can work on. We will also try to understand the tenant isolation as well. And these are the pointers based on the policies we will try to see. Then we will also be going to see about the Power Apps portal, where we will also try to understand that who all will be having access, and we can work on that. Plus, I want you to understand the roles which are needed. So what all roles are important, how we can assign these roles, that we will try to understand in this session. And also the conditional access policy, as I discussed with you, and also I discussed about the roles. So how we can create the roles and how we can assign these roles. And also if you want to have a custom roles, how you can create your custom roles. Also we have a very important and very strong service that is known as PIM. So we will try to also explore the PIM as well, that if you want to extend any role, or if you want to make any user coming under this privilege access, what all steps you can use and how this will be beneficial for your organization. So these are the few pointers we will be trying to explore once we will get the little understanding on the slides which I have created. Let me bring my back. Let me bring me the slides back. Okay, just take a moment to. Yeah. Yeah, so it's here only, and we were discussing about integrating data to Dataverse. So as we discussed earlier, that Dataverse we use to easily manage and secure the information. So here, when we are integrating data into Dataverse, so Dataverse is allowing data to be integrated from the multiple sources, and we are storing it at a single single store, and that store will help us in managing this information in Power Apps, in Power uh, Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents. And you can use your data for regularly synchronize, you can transform and import using Power Query, or even you can import through a one-time import of Excel and CSV files as well. So these are the pointers which are coming on the slide, and that's why you can see the power which we have with Dataverse is uh, very strong. And because of that, we need to make sure that the people, those who have access to this, will be having a right level of role assigned to them. So now we have tables as well. As we discussed that in Dataverse, we can have standard tables, we can have custom tables. I'll just take the highlighter as well. Yeah. So we can have standard tables which are provided by Dataverse by default. We can have custom tables. We can have entity references, which give us the full list of tables available. And also we can create a custom tables as well. So custom tables are again based on the requirement of the organization. So this we can work on. And then when we talk about the security, so Dataverse security model is basically combining the various types of security to protect data, that is the integrity and privacy, and while promoting efficient data access and collaboration. So here if you see that what are the developer capabilities to programmatically access and interact with the data and the metadata, and also create tables and the business logic. So here if we see that uh, security in Dataverse in the Power Platform. So here if you go to the admin, if you go to the admin part, this is the admin. And if I go to the environments, if I will take the detailed view of this environment, if you see the access is coming over here. So this is a default tnet on which I'm working. So you can create your own environment and you can work on that. So here if we see, we have certain security roles, we have certain users, those who have access to this. Also, we can go and we can work on the permissions which we can assign with this. So I can go to the settings, and here I can check the platform setting. So in that platform setting, I can see that who all can like the developer environment assignment. So here developers are coming, building and testing the Power application. So I can allow everybody to come and work on this environment, as we have seen that at the base, we have a data to work on. Or I can allow only specific admin. And these admin, if you see, these admins are global admin, Dynamics 365 server admins, Power Platform Service admins, and delegated admins. So I can only enable this option where I'm not allowing everybody to come and work and manage the developer environment, but only the specific admin. And I'm telling you, by doing that, by doing and giving permission to specific admin, it is going to reduce the attack surface, because whenever any account is compromised, in that case, attacker will be only having access to the data which that user is having access to. So if you are only allowing the specific admin to work on, create and manage the developer environment, you are reducing the attack surface. So this is a very simple way, but this is very important way. Similar to that, we have other settings as well, which you can see wherever is needed. You can allow the permissions only given to the admin, not to all the users. So that will also help you in managing the security aspects. If you see, So you can go and check the settings which are related like the analytics. So you can check and work on the settings which are needed. You want to see the analytics where you want to see the entire data related to this reporting information. If it is disabled, you should be enabling it. So certain kind of settings which are important over here, like the production environment assignment. So who can create and manage your production environment? So you should be only giving this permission to the admins only. So such kind of permissions which are needed to manage security aspect of your environment, that is important. So if you all are having access to this for your organization and you have that role assigned to you, please check that what all things are enabled for all the users. If important, then only keep that, otherwise make it for admin only. That is going to be a first step towards securing your infrastructure, that you are not allowing everyone to come and work in your environment. So I'm bringing my slide back. So after that, we will be discussing few more pointers, and then we will switch completely to creation of the roles, assignment of the roles, and also we will try to see that how we can work on row and column level security. Even though this demo which I have created, I have not enabled database for today's demo. So maybe I will not be able to show you in the demo about table and column row security, but we will be discussing few aspects related to conditional access and all those pointers. So this we see that Dataverse is giving us the rich security options to work on, where we can control who can access and who can work on. So we have just seen the environment part, Dataverse part. I'm just going to show you. And also we have other pointers which are given, like users are authenticated by Microsoft Intra ID. So I'll take you to the Intra ID portal and I will show you that how users are authenticated, how we can enable MFA for the admin users, and also the licensing, also the ability to create applications and flows is controlled by security roles in the context of environment. So we have just seen that who can create the application, who can work on the application, who can work on the production environment. That also we can manage based on the permission settings. Also, users' ability to see and use the applications is also controlled by sharing the applications within the user. So it's not important that you have an explicit role assigned, but if that application is shared with the user, that user will also have ability to use it. Also, environment act as security boundaries and allowing different security needs to be implemented in each environment. So as I've shown you those options, so we can work on that. Even specific to environment, we can go and we can enable specific user for that environment, so that you will be having limited access to the specific environment. So I will show you that in the demo. And we are talking a lot about role-based security. So role-based security is basically associated with users, teams, business unit, and these are the privileges or set of permissions which are uh, given to the users, teams, and the business units, where we are combining the permissions and we are giving it a name as a role and assigning it. So we have Dataverse role-based security for the group privileges, and also we can grant cumulative way of privileges, and also we have organizations level access also. So here we can assign these security roles directly to the users, or when we say we can associate with the Dataverse teams and the business unit also. And users can then be associated with the teams, and then all the users which are associated with the team will be benefited with the role. So similar to that, we have groups. If a user is a part of group and you are assigning a role to that group, the user will automatically be enjoying that role. So I will show you in the demo as well that how we can work on this. So basic key which we need to understand is that we have to understand that all privilege grants are accumulative with the greatest amount of access prevailing. So if you are giving a broad organization level lead access to all the contact records, then you can't go back and you can't hide a record. So you have to be very, very cautious when you are assigning the read or view permissions to any specific user for specific information. We have various business units. So business unit works with security roles to determine the user access and also defining the security boundary. And then we can have child business units as well, which are created for further segmentation. So main business unit, then we can have a child business unit as well. And user belong to business unit can be used to model the organizational hierarchy, or also we can say that the security boundaries. So let's say we have a root business unit with child units A and B. I think I have similar to that. Yeah. So this is the hierarchy. So here we have a root business unit and then we can have a child business unit. So for this child business units, again, we can have a different set of security roles and permissions assigned, because the main business unit can have a different requirement. But when we talk about division A, it is going to have a different role and permissions required. And again, in division B as well, maybe they need a similar, maybe they need a different. So we can work with the environment in such a way that we will be able to manage the requirements, and we will be able to assign those roles and permission to the different divisions in the hierarchy. And that's why the hierarchical data access structure is very popular and very important, because here we can have a granular access and level of the things. So if you see in this example, uh, assign security role Y from division A, access to contact 1 and contact 2 reports. User B in division B cannot access division A's record. So we have this restrictions that this business unit will not be able to access the records which are there in business unit B. And the A will again not be able to access the contact 3. So we are segregating the access, and based on that we are maintaining the security as well. So then we have associate a business unit with a Microsoft intra security group. So here, if you see, it is given, I'm just making it a little zoom. So here you can see the steps which are given, what all things you can do. So first, if you see, we can create a Microsoft intra security group for each business unit. Now, what security group is all about is you have created a group and then you have assigned the users to that group. Now that group can be assigned to specific environment, let's say production environment, and then you can select the set of users to work on a specific business unit, to work on a specific Dataverse group. So that you can manage when you are creating the security group. So it's very easy to manage a single security group instead of managing the number of users in the organization. So it's very easy. How it is easy? That if any user is part of a security group, it is enjoying the roles and permission given to that group. If that user is removed from the group, now that user is automatically deallocated from the roles and the permission assigned. So it's very easy and it's very automatic. When the user is added, automatically permissions are assigned. When the user is removed from the group, the permissions will be released. The permission will be revoked. So it's very easy to manage the users when it comes to group. And these security groups are created with this concept only, that the users which are part of a security group, they will only be having access to the specific environment, specific units, specific resources. So that is all about the security groups. We will see in the demo as well that how groups will be created and how we are granting the users and then we are assigning them to the various environments. As I discussed with you that Dataverse is supporting records like organizational own or user or team own records. So if you see, we have some access level choices: organization, business unit and child business unit, and users own record. And then we have security roles privilege editor as well. So this particular slide is talking that we can basically work on these kind of records where we have a choice that this table is created and can't be changed, or for security purposes records that are organization owned, uh, only access level choices is either the user can do the operation or user can't do the operations. So for users and team owned records, the access level choices for most privileges are tiered organizations, business unit and child business unit. So these are the options which I have. So what I can do is that, let's say, read privileges for any contact. So I could set a user own and the user would only see their own records. That kind of things I can do. Let's say we have a user A that is associated with division A, as we have seen in the previous slide, and we give them a business unit level read access on contact. So they would be able to see contact 1 and contact 2 only, not the contact 3, as we have seen in that slide. So whenever we are configuring or editing security role privilege, we are setting the access level for each permission. So if you see in this slide once again, this slide. So here we have division A and division B. So we have assigned the permissions. Based on that, the user will be only able to see the contact 1 and contact 2, not contact 3. So we can manage these kind of permissions based on the ownership and based on the access assigned to the users. And also the record ownership in the businesses. So here, user can own records across any business unit with a security role that has read privilege to the record table. And also we can enable this feature by managing the organizational setting editor and also work on the settings. So whenever we have a non-production environment, only one settings needs to be changed. So I'll just show you that as well in the demo. And then we can have all these options. Here we have record level security in Dataverse. So in Dataverse, access to a record is determined by a combination of security roles, business unit association, team memberships, and shared records. So access, we can say, is a cumulative across the all the concepts, and this is within a single database. So individually tracked in each Dataverse table. It also require appropriate license to access the Dataverse as well. So always we need to understand that what determines access to a record. So it sounds like a simple question, but for any given user, I'm just again emphasizing it that it is combination of all their security roles, business unit they are associated with, the teams they are member of, and the records that are shared with them. That all combines and determine the access to a record. So this slide is very important to understand that all these things requires the need to have an appropriate license to access the Dataverse. Then we have a custom layer security in Dataverse as well. So before that, let me show you. So when we come to the environment, I was discussing about the certain roles which we can assign. So if I go to the security roles, it's taking some time. Yeah. So these are the roles which are coming, and these roles within this environment I can manage and I can see that who can access to that. I can open any role and I can work on this as well. So I can check this as well, who all are member for this role and what all things we have with this application. This is coming under the team privilege. What is the business unit? So I can go and check all the information related to this role. So what all customizations, custom table which are coming, any miscellaneous privileges we have, any privacy related privileges this role is having. So we can work and we can check the specific security roles and we can work on those things. Here we can manage all the business unit which are part of this environment. We can also see the teams, we can also see the users which are part of this, and we can take the benefit of these things. Here if you see, no security group is assigned over here. I can go, I can edit, and I can assign the security group So I'm not able to assign because this is a default one. So if you create the environment, you can assign the security groups to that environment. Now, how we can work on the security groups? This is a portal.azure.com where I have just now. So here we have a Microsoft Intra ID. So during my presentation, I shared that Microsoft Intra ID will help us in authenticating and authorizing the users, and we have specific roles which we need to work on all those things. So this is a admin.microsoft.com portal. If you see over here, these are the three roles I have assigned to the user who is able to create and work on this environment. So global admin is there, D365 admin is there, and Power Platform admin is there. So I have assigned three roles. But if you assign any of the roles, Power Platform or Dynamics, and the global admin, it will work. So means global admin plus any of the role should be assigned, but I always assign these three. Then you can see the users which are coming over here, and we can assign the roles to the users. And I will also show you the grouping part as well. We can create the group. So let's say I'm creating a new group and I'm going to give a name to this group, Security Power Demo Group for demo. So I'm not assigning any. These are the assigned. I can select the members also right now. Let's say I'm selecting Edelwins, Alex, both the users for this. Owner also I can select. So let's say I'm selecting admin account for the giving the ownership to this user, this group, and I can create this group. So if I'm assigning this to a specific environment, so the users which are part of this group will be automatically having access to this environment. Again, we have these groups. So we have created this demo security power demo group, which we have just created. We can see the licenses which we are assigning to this, the roles which we are assigning to this group. So you can see that it's very, very easy to manage the users licensing part, any administrative unit you want this group to be part of. All those things you can manage, and as your role as well. You want to give a system admin, contributor, any role you can also give to this particular group. And that will also help you in managing the, right now there is no subscription. I've just created it for demo only, and PIM as well. So you can see that if you're creating a group, it's very easy for you to manage the access for the users you want to enable for specific access in the environment. Now I discussed also about the roles. So I was discussing multiple times that we can assign the roles. Now what exactly this role is all about, let me show you. Let's say I am opening this Power Platform admin role. Let me show you what all permission we have for this Power Platform admin user. So I'm just opening the description for this role. And if you see, this role is nothing but giving a power to the user who can create, manage all aspects of environments, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow, data loss prevent policies. Additionally, users with this role also have ability to manage support tickets and monitor the service health. And what all things we have in this is, we have lot of role permissions. You can see the list of the role permissions. You have the read permissions. So you can see the list of the permissions which are given over here with this admin role, making user powerful or performing these specific tasks which are given with the help of the permissions which are managed over here. So these are the inbuilt role. We can also create custom roles as per the requirement of the organization, where we can select the uh, permissions, we can club those permissions, and we can create the roles and assign the roles. Also, I discussed that if we want to restrict the access, what we can do is we can go to the conditional access policy. So conditional access policy is a service where we can access, we can approve the access or we can block the access based on certain conditions for certain users. So if you see, these are the users we have. We can make it for all and we can select specific users. So let's say I'm selecting it for one user just for demo purpose. So I'm selecting it for Edelweiss. Okay, now what I want to do is, this is a user that the policy applies to. Now, these are the targeted resources. So I'm selecting a targeted resource. So I'm going to select the application. Now here you can see it take, I think, couple of seconds to open. Yeah. So I can apply this policy, let's say Power BI service, Power App service, if I want to block it for specific user based on the condition. So I can select it, let's say over here, Power App service. So I've selected this Power App service. I'm selecting it now. So this user, and this is a targeted resource based on the condition. Now these are the conditions which we have. If the user is on risk, high, low, medium, I'm not going into the detail of that, but we can configure this based on the user risk level, high, medium, and low. I can assign it. I can also have a sign-in risk, high, medium, low. Device platforms from which this request is coming. So I can select that what all platforms I want to select if I want to configure it. Android, iOS, and all those stuff. I want to exclude some platforms, that also I can select. What is this? This is the uh, option where I can checking the conditions based on which I'm going to give access to the specific request. As I mentioned, specific location. So any specific locations which you have managed, any trusted location you have, from that you can approve or block the access. And also the client application. So your application can be accessed from a modern authentication browser or mobile applications or some legacy authentication client. So you can take the uh, option, you can take the control of giving the access, that you are giving access to this application. If the request is coming from the browser, I want to approve it or I want to reject it. So that you can mention, these are the major conditions based on which I can take the decision of granting the access or blocking the access. So here, if you see these two options, block or grant. So if you want to completely block users for using Power BI service, Power App service, you can completely block this. But if you think that the user should be using it, but I can grant the access based on certain parameters, I can also specify those parameters from here, that user require multi-factor authentication or user require authentication strength, or it should be coming from a compliant device. So all those things also I can select when it comes to conditional access policy. So I can also work on the roles and permissions when it comes to the conditional access policy. I can completely block or I can give permissions based on certain conditions. Also, as I discussed about this is about the access which we are giving. Then we have certain more pointers which we can work on from the Power Platform Admin Center, that I can create a new tenant role, inbound and outbound role I can create, who can access, where I can send the request, all those things I can manage. Also, when we come to the data policies, so data loss prevention policies are helping us in managing the connectors who will be having access to which data. So let's say I'm opening this policy only, I'm editing this policy. So first we have to give the name of the policy. These are the pointers with which we need to work on. Pre-built connectors, custom connectors, what is the scope, and then we review and we create this policy. So here we can assign the connectors. So if you see over here, we have three different connectors. First is the business connector. These are the connectors for sensitive data. and connectors in this group cannot share data with connectors in the other group. Similar to that, if we talk about non-business data, again connectors in this group cannot share data with the connectors in the other group. So it means we are making three different containers where we are keeping our connectors based on the business sensitivity and non-business sensitivity of the data. And if we want to block certain connectors that we are not trusting them a lot, we can make them. We can't block the Microsoft connectors. So publisher is Microsoft. So let's say I want to select non-Microsoft first, and I want to block all non-Microsoft connectors to be part of this group. I want to block it completely. So I can block them. And then I have 246 Microsoft connectors over here, and I have blocked 918 non-Microsoft connectors over here. I can also go and check, let's say if it is a SharePoint, I can also go and check about the connectors as well. I don't know why it is not enabled. It was enabled. So we can also configure the connector as well. Sign the permissions. Okay, no problem. So let's say you have certain application where you want that SharePoint connector should not be having talk or should not be discussing anything or sharing anything with OneDrive for business. I can move the SharePoint to the business. Now SharePoint will be in the business, and then I will not be having any interaction between SharePoint data and the OneDrive or any other data. So I can work on these applications. I can also set up the inbound role as well. So if we have this connector for SQL Server, I can go and check for the endpoint. I can have the connector action over here, delete row, execute a SQL query. I can manage all these options and actions which are related to the specific connector. I can allow new connector actions. I can block new connector actions. So I can manage all these things which are related to specific connector as well. Once I can select all these things, I can go to custom connector patterns. And these are basically creating a list of rules. And these are basically helping in limiting the access to the custom connector. And then if you see over here, we can add it. So I can create a non-business by default, business, blocked. I can create and work on the options as well. So these are based on the priorities. So I can create custom creator, and then based on the priority also, I can work on this. And then I can define the scope as well, that this is, and this option you will be getting if you are admin for the user. So add all the environments if you are having access to the entire org. You can add multiple environment. This policy you can add to the multiple environment. You can exclude certain environments to come for this particular to come in the scope of this policy. And then we can create it. So you will get the entire detail about this policy and you can create this policy. Now this policy will help you in managing your data, and then you can see that what all connectors can talk to the other connectors in the environment. So that also you can manage, and you can create multiple policies to work on, and you can see those aspects of that. And the important part is that we have this data in preview. So here also we can work on the on-premises data gateways. We can also work on virtual network data gateways. I can also enable this TNet administration. I can go and I can set up this on-prem as well. So lot all options you will be getting over here in the data as well. This is still in the preview, but you can go and explore this aspect as well. Let me see what all things I have for the slide. Let me bring my slides back for you all. So till now we discussed about creating the access, creating the policies. We can also enable PIM, as I discussed, for the users, where users will be given access for just in time, that this is the privileged role you are giving to the user for a specific period of time, and after that, that role will automatically be removed from the user. So I will show you that aspect as well. Let me see what all things I have for this session prepared. Yeah, so this is the privilege check, which we were discussing before going for the demo. So this is a basically first barrier, if I can say, to pass for the record interaction. And each table has different privileges for interaction capability, and privilege can be assigned through role or team membership. And these are the access check. So what access check is doing is it is verifying that the user has the required right to perform the action they are trying to do. And there are four different ways in which user can have access right to perform an action in the particular record, like the ownership, role access, shared access, and the hierarchy access. So when we say ownership, a user can access a record if they own it or if their team owns it, in which they are part of. And any access level is, I think, sufficient for them. And a privilege check is going to determine that if the user has appropriate access to perform the action or not. If we see the role access, so user can perform action on records based on their security roles and the access level of privilege. So I've shown you the roles and the permissions which are part of that. So we can see that there are certain major scenarios for different, like basic level access, user privilege, roles inheritance configuration. So member privilege inheritance. So if the user is part of a group and a role is assigned to group, user will automatically be using or assigned with that particular role. So roles are important because with the role only, they will be able to perform the operations which are designated to them. And then we have a shared access as well. So shared access is a way, I can say, to access a record without having an explicit role. Means it is obtained when we say that the record is shared with the user, team, or organization by a user with appropriate shared right. So in that way, we can also work. So you can see in the slide, there are 5 ways to have shared access to a record. And again, hierarchy access is another way to access a record. So this is a hierarchy access. So hierarchy access is enabled when we have hierarchy security management enabled in the organization for a table, and the user is the manager of that thing. So manager must have a security role assigned with access level business unit or parent child business unit. So this is a requirement for that. And user can access the record if it is owned by a direct report. A direct report is a member of the owner team, or the record was shared with a direct report for the required action. So that's the hierarchy access, where based on the hierarchy, the access is given. And this we discussed in the demo, data loss prevention policies, where we can safeguard the organization data with Power Apps and Power Automate uh, for rolling out the high value applications. So we can prevent the data leakage, where we can segregate the connectors in the business, non-business, and block containers. So we can manage the data leakage with DLP policies, and we can scope the environment or at the tenant level. And as we discussed, we can classify the connectors as a business or non-business and block uses for certain conditions. And also we have created the policy in the Power Platform Admin Center. And we have seen that how we can use those policies and how we can enable those policies. This is how we can create a policy. So I've just already demonstrated it. So I'm going to skip this slide. And this is how we can manage the data loss prevention policies, where we can find, view the policies, we can edit the policy, we can delete policy, and we can work on the policy as well. And also we can block the access as we discussed. So I have added one slide also on that pointer. So we can block access by location with Microsoft intra conditional ID, conditional access. That is a cap policy, which help us in applying the right access control when needed to help your organization secure. So based on the location, based on the device it raising the request, we can basically manage this information. And also we can have the entire report from the conditional access policy and other things as well, that how we are doing it and what kind of access we are giving. We can also create security groups, add members. If the member is part of the security group and it is there in the environment, the users, those who are part of security group, will be able to access the environment, will be able to use that environment. And one user can be accessing multiple environment also, because that user is part of the multiple security group. So that also can be used. Once the user is removed from the security group, that user will not be able to access the environment. So these are the ways through which we can create the security group. I've already demonstrated in the demo, so I'm just skipping this slide. Here I've just shown that how we can create groups. So create a security group, add members to the security group, we can remove the users, and we can assign the licenses as well. Because as I discussed, it's easy to work with the groups instead of working with number of users. And it's easy for you as well, because you are assigning the groups to the environment, and based on that, the users will be having access to that. And I have also shown you that how we can associate the security group with the environment. So with this, we reach to the summary part of the entire session. We discussed about the data, that it is important to know your data for securing it. We discussed a little bit about Microsoft Dataverse, security in Dataverse, also role-based security, column level security, data loss prevention policies, and conditional access policies as well. So with this, we reach to the end of the session. This is the QR code for my LinkedIn profile. So if you want to connect with me for any discussion on this, even though I've just started my journey with Power Platform Security, but I have a strong understanding of security services when it comes to conditional access policy, PIM, creation of the roles, managing the access we are giving to the user. So please feel free to connect with me for any kind of help which you need. So this is the QR code for my LinkedIn profile. And once again, I would like to say thanks to each and every one for coming and patiently listening this entire session. And I hope that I am able to do the justice with this session, even though I was little worried that my session is little bit different from the other speakers, because they were all talking about creation and building the applications using the AI builder or chatbots or all those stuff. This is a little different, but I think this is important as well. So with this, I just wanted to close it, and thank you. So I'm just going to drop off now because of some other engagement. So if you have any question, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. This is a LinkedIn QR code, and you can also message in the chat as well. So that's it from my side, Rajendra. Over to you once
Yeah.
again.
Thank you so much, Abhilasha. It's a nice session. So, on the Azure security part, we have learned a lot. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
Guys, do you have any questions in the chat?